Another episode of the Goliath and Leviathan Show. Hey, everybody. In this one, we're going to be talking about Hawaii. It's a couple days old, still relatively new. The Honolulu police telling legal marijuana users to turn in their firearms.
More martial law type stuff.
Yeah, and people said that, oh, registration wouldn't lead to confiscation. Guess again. So this is relatively new. It's about a week old now. Well, it says from December 4th, 2017, so not too long ago. They're still considering possibly repealing this act,
Their
reevaluating it.
decision, but
So this is from the Star Advisor on Honolulu. And the Honolulu police tell legal marijuana users to turn in their firearms. Um, in a letter to about 30 medical marijuana card holders on Oahu, the police said you have, quote, 30 days upon receipt of this letter to voluntarily surrender your firearms, end quote. The letter was signed by Susan Ballard, the new chief of police. Woman. Surprise, surprise. Crazy. So the Honolulu Police Department has told legal marijuana users who use their own guns that they must turn in their weapons within 30 days. This is crazy. It's insane. In a letter to about 30 medical marijuana card holders on Oahu, the police said you have 30 days upon receipt of this letter to voluntarily surrender your firearms. And the police have been sending this since at least January. And basically the quote that the letter is stating is your medical marijuana use disqualifies you from ownership of firearms and ammunition, the letter said. In the letter, Ballard cites Hawaii Revised Statute Sections 134-7A. In the reason for the move, the section reads, quote, no person who is a fugitive from justice or is a person prohibited from possessing firearms or ammunition under federal law shall own, possess, or control any firearm or ammunition therefore, end quote. This is ridiculous because, if you're just a legal, law-abiding citizen who's registered their firearms, I myself am, right? And, or other people, if you want to also use medical marijuana for purposes of medicinal reasoning, right? Whether you're a cancer patient or other ailments, kind of like to basically, it numbs the pain if somebody's in really pain. I know people that are suffering from cancer.
and it's legal. It's
Mm-hmm.
medical marijuana.
Mm-hmm. Which, and again, it's like you can look at it any way, but it's the fact that the left is willing to go through lengths like this. I mean, Honolulu in itself is a very far left-leaning state.
You're going to take gun confiscation away from people that don't have any history of crimes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. It's their
law-abiding citizens are always targeted first.
Yeah. it's tyrannical overreach of government. By the police, overzealous police chief, in my opinion. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. She's you can't take away private gun ownership in the first. You can't do that. You
It's against
can't.
the Second
Yeah.
Amendment in itself, and it's like you can try to pass and enact things,
And the
but it's
thing
like
is, sorry, I didn't mean to
no, it's okay.
interrupt too, but it's like the thing is too is that nobody has ever um, marijuana isn't known as a drug to like start committing crimes like killing people.
No,
It's
alcohol
not.
and
Yeah,
gambling
it's
are.
not. It's not a drug that where people are going to start going on mass killing sprees because they're smoking a joint.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing.
It's an infringement of your rights and liberties. And I mean, I'm wearing a shirt right now. It's an InfoWars shirt. It says, "Mass murderers agree, gun control works." It's got a picture of Hitler, Stalin, and Mao Zedong on it. And on the back it says, "Politicians love disarmed peasants." Because if you're disarmed, if you can't use or exercise the rights within the Constitution for yourself, right? If you're going to allow governments and committees within society dictate terms to you, you're no better than a slave. All the sorts of enactions of policies, which we've talked about. Whenever somebody enacts a policy to basically take away rights, it's not you're giving up rights willingly and freely. It's like there should be a backlash against this, which apparently there is now recently within the past couple of days. This story is still relatively new. It's not even really a full week
Well, we'll see what
old.
happens in the 30-day mark. It's been a week. It's been 6-7 days that this story's been out. We'll see in 23 days if there's actually a cause of action. It's like, where do you draw a line?
Mm-hmm.
To what this police chief is trying to do.
It's Orwellian again.
Yeah.
It's very Orwellian. It's very Stalinistic, and you might as well have the brown shirts with SS uniforms going around, banging on people's doors.
It's like martial law. That's what they're
Mhm.
trying to do. It's what happens if people don't confiscate their guns in 30 days from now. They're gonna just break the door open and just grab the guns and
Mhm.
arrest you. Put you to jail. Like, where does the line get drawn here? And then who knows if other liberal states start picking this up and say, oh well, what they're doing that there, it's fine.
Yeah.
Let's bring that to over here.
Yeah. No, and the left loves to scream about gun control and it's going to make everybody safer. If you look at the intro to our video, one of the main clips, it shows where firearms are used, whether government buildings, whether police, whether they're politicians, whether they're banks, whether there's jewelry stores, and then places where there are gun-free zones. Oh, nobody can have a gun. Wait, quick! There's a crime. Call somebody with a gun to stop this person.
Yeah, and they'll get there 8 minutes or 10 minutes late when it's too late.
Yeah, which we've talked about in other episodes too. Obviously after the there was the mass shooting at the church in Texas, right, which happened relatively recently, and the person that stopped this madman with firearms, this disturbing individual, there was a good law-abiding citizen who stepped up to the plate and stopped this mad person, not with a handgun, mind you, with an actual. An actual assault rifle himself that he had, and everybody wants to try and disband people. So the fact of trying to bar people on from owning firearms in itself is a very, very destructive force
And it's only
of
the
government.
left that's trying to do that. It seems like the left politicians, left-wing people. Joe Biden even said about that Texas shooting that the shooter who killed the guy that we shouldn't have had that gun.
Mhm.
It's like you're always defending the criminals.
Yeah.
The criminals are always being defended now. The good Samaritans, the good citizens of each state are the ones that are being getting their rights stripped from them.
Mm-hmm. And then you can look at it too. It's like, well, yeah, you register your firearms. I've had to because I'm a law-abiding citizen, right? But now it's the dual act with like in Hawaii because the marijuana is legal over there. So you register to be a legal marijuana pot holder, right? To basically smoke marijuana legally. And if you also are on the firearms registration list, well, then they know who you are. They know where you live. They already know this, the government data banks and everything else going on. They know, but it's a law that is not designed to the way the force of government. It's all about force and acting force on a people unwillingly. So yeah, it's kind of intense.
It's the government seeing how much they can get away with too.
Mm-hmm.
It's let's try this out. Let's see where it goes. Like I said earlier, and then they'll pass it on to other states, and then into other. It's not going to work, so I'm not too worried about it. But just the fact
The
that,
fact that they tried
yeah,
this and that it's a willing, we got to talk about it. That's why this platform's here. It's like we're open to talk about this, and you guys debate too. Submit comments and stuff on other platforms and ask questions, and this what this platform's here for for open debate and talking points. And that also goes into the fact with obviously there's platforms that are being silenced in the First Amendment now. Obviously what happened to the VidMe channel. Obviously for however many people that actually use it, we were using it as an outlet for ourselves, just as another way of branching our name brand out there. But the fact that there's elements within society that can conform or can basically manipulate everything else. And if you're an individual and are looking at your own liberties, you really should look at yourself more or less and not trying to control things. But other people want to control you, and there's always going to be pushback against that.
yeah, and they're trying to see First Amendment, Second Amendment. They're trying different things. They're trying
Mm-hmm.
different ways, and the best thing to do, like Leviathan has said, like I have said, is to keep talking about it, keep on
Yeah.
bringing up these issues because then they will back down
Yeah.
because they're going to see that there's too much push of,
There's too much of a swell of anger. I mean, obviously, you can do so much to some of the population, but if a vast majority of people within the
yeah,
population are upset,
you're gonna like a few years ago there was that talk of Jade Helm
yeah, in
in Texas,
Texas,
and then all of a sudden, Infowars, Breitbart, other channels started to get on with what's going on. People were starting to record on their phones and report things like, "Hey, wait a minute, I'm seeing a lot of military
yeah,
vehicles are in this area." All of a sudden, a lot of WalMarts were closing down, where
mm-hmm.
they're saying that they were going to use that to
Staging
staging
areas.
areas for people. And then all of a sudden, nothing happened, but it just goes to show you why if you keep on pushing, it's gonna
People are aware. I
yeah
mean, it only really works if I have this theory of okay, you can trick some of the people most of the time, but if the controllers really want to try and deceive people, they have to put them in a slow boil, kind of like cooking a lobster,
right
where it's kind of like you don't just throw a lobster into an already roaring, bubbling pot of hot water. You put them in cold water and you slowly turn up the flame, and the lobster it's comfortable in there, and then it doesn't realize it's being cooked. So for a lot of the people within the world that are still in the matrix in a way, you don't realize how your brain is being cooked and how your mind is being warped, and you're being indoctrinated to be a part of the matrix. You're being part of the cogs and the gears of the machine. And with MGTOW, you're breaking out of that. That broke in a way. I broke out of it a long, long time ago as an awareness of it, of the system, but also as more of a philosophical nature and as more of a free thinker.
yeah. So that's just the main thing is just being aware. And I mean, if you look throughout history of gun confiscation,
Mm-hmm.
like you
My
looked at your
shirt.
shirt earlier. So Hitler in Germany, gun confiscation,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden, all that happened with the killing millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, gun confiscation, North Korea,
Mm-hmm.
Iran, all these places with gun confiscation,
Venezuela, parts of
Venezuela.
Africa, most of Africa. I mean, the only two countries in the world that allow people to actually arm themselves is the United States of America and Switzerland. Everywhere else, there's major registration, major restrictions on anybody, any citizen within that country from actually obtaining their own firearm. And there are ways people can have like hunting clubs and stuff, like in England or in Australia or parts of Europe, right? Um, but for the most part, the only real part of the world that you can have certain liberties and freedoms to fully embrace being an individual is in America, in the United States of America, and Switzerland. Why they have that is more or less because they were invaded, and they have that more of neutrality aspect. They don't want to get invested with so many other countries, right? But they're willing to defend themselves because they realize self survival skills, and their people want to defend
Right.
themselves.
Hey, and thanks everybody for it's been another episode of the Goliath and Leviathan show. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.